Well, it's a bit later. Well, little status update. Check out the mess we got going on here. There's that there Stage X block waiting. It'll be going on the stand soon, so I can start putting parts on it. Hopefully. This guy's over here working on my WRX channels. STI.
Making progress.
Guy going from what is it? FP Black.
Yeah.
Was second largest stock location turbo.
Yep.
Something like that, which we were looking at, and it looks like a baby turbo.
Literally.
It's pretty bad that we're broken this much. Here's all of his parts. Nice pairing from out. Going to the ETS. By the way, turns out he went and bought my old rotated kit.
Yep.
With my 6466. So got my old up pipe in here. Josh is tearing away, rewiring.
Yeah. Try and make it look pretty.
Apparently there's a lot of changes that need to happen in order for this car to go rotated right now, and it's a struggle.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff
Custom downpipe. Where'd that turbo disappear to? In that bin? Oh, there it is. There she is. For those that know it, that's my old 6466 with the 105 housing. The one that I've got my current fastest pass on at 9.6. Which Josh keeps telling me is slow.
Wow.
But, you know, you see the size of that turbo, even being a 6.4 compared to the black over here, almost looking stock.
Then, meanwhile, Travis there telling me you ain't going to race no more, so.
Yeah, no, I ain't going to race no more. Going to throw the Stage X in there and call it good. Everybody else want to appreciate this beautiful car that he has on the back of his sweatshirt? You know, this car right here, over here.
Yours?
Yeah, it's my car sitting on the back of your shirt.
Fuck, I don't know.
See, we represent each other. It's
Even
nice.
try.
All right, so the update with this, she's pretty well torn apart. I was just pulling off the coolant crossover. Pull off that hose real quick, and then I'm gonna end up working on the pulleys on the front, pull off the oil pump. We're gonna have to clean that out, clean out the pan. It's got a bit of metal shavings in it, and it's at the point where there was a couple chunks in there. You can see one down the bottom that we are questioning how intact the bearings are on this engine.
Well, you got Mischief Jimmy.
We got Mischief Yumi.
Mischief Jimmy over here.
Oh, Jimmy.
And when you hit the limiter at that power level, it's a bit hard on things.
Oh, this is a beautiful picture of you. Got the sun shining, got a little halo going.
I'm sure you got the, glaze of no hair.
No, you're actually good. Because the sun's coming through right there. And
just Photoshop it in.
But we flipped it upside down. We went and looked at the oil on the rods. We tried shaking the rods, but obviously while still connected to pistons, it's going to be kind of difficult to see if any of them are loose. None of them that we could tell were loose, but still, leaves question onto how much longer is the engine going to last. Could probably leave it turned down to like 300 and it could last a few thousand miles, but
you could turn it down to what it's rated for and it might last.
You could turn it down to what it's rated for. You could go to 500 on this and maybe, but there is the risk of like whatever did get chewed up and ended up in the pan could start up and just fail, but we don't know. And the risk of it is if it's the mainline bearings, is if we would end up having to, do mainline and bore, which ends up being,
You have to pull it all the way apart. You're at a full rebuild at that point.
yeah, full part, full rebuild, and then not very cost efficient for shipping it out, having it done, having to ship back.
Because we're going to probably pay, to get it shipped to you out front, it ends up being around 150, 175 to ship it.
Right.
Then plus, that's each way.
Yep.
Plus you have the service, which the service alone is $300 to mainline it.
Right.
And then plus bearings. So by the time you do the math,
$800-900?
you're at the cost of another brand new short block from him. You know, another used case that's already been mainlined.
Right.
That's why we just never sent anything back in, and I always kind of have the jokes with Germany that they're throwaway blocks because.
Well, that's also because we didn't. I don't even know if we mentioned it before. Mine was actually a used block.
Yeah, which is fine
Because
it was mainline.
Yeah.
So that part doesn't matter. You know, when we do closed deck systems, all the stage blocks that you guys see that we sell are all new cases. You know, personal blocks that we have here, and in my personal car, in the race car, it has a used case in there. But you know what? That car is going to go through a motor, you know, every 1 or 2 passes, and at that point, is it really worth it to put a brand new case in the car? No, it's not.
And I mean, that's really the big difference between customer versus like personal or, you know, me, that we were already planning this out, that we knew it wasn't going to last forever. So we're like, we can go used on ours. For a customer, obviously, they're going to get a brand new case.
And there really isn't any difference between a used to a new case other than the mainline. You know, when we buy his case and it's a used case, it was mainlined. But we can order a brand new case and you don't have to mainline it because obviously it's a brand new case. So, you know, the added cost versus the new cost of a brand new case kind of offsets itself. You know, that's where you can kind of make that determination if you want to have a used case being, you know, a close friend.
Because we got good rods, we have good pistons. It'd literally be case halves, drop everything in, new bearings, and call it good.
You know, there's obviously the difference between like refreshes and whatnot, and obviously these motors are probably one of the harder ones to do it on. You know, as far as what I was just telling them earlier, you know, in Evo you can drop the oil pan and you can do the mains and rods right there. You know, obviously that's a lot different than these engines where you have to split the case, and the case going together is your main line. You know, things are a lot different with these boxer engines
because you have to split.
The nice thing is, and we haven't got to play with a ton of them as far as in a racing application, but on the FA20 engines, you can actually pull the rod bearings out with the case together.
Oh, see, I didn't know that.
So there is a bit of a difference when it comes to that point. So, like I said, we haven't dealt a lot with those, and that's not really the issue of them right now.
We got some time and some room to start playing with FAs, but that's, no, none of us really want to play with FAs right now.
We have proven power, you know. They work. They work very well. FA, I'm sure they'll work, but it's going to take time.
Right now, the biggest person pushing power on the FA is Junior.
Yep.
Because he finally got the first FA 20 over 1,000. But I'm going to end up trying to pull this the rest of the way apart. My goal is to get these parts on that block and get this thing cleaned out with some brake clean. We're gonna see how the gears look on the oil pump. And sadly enough, I'm gonna have to order a new oil cooler because the one that I have is pretty well chewed up. So that's, you know, another cost that's gonna happen, but that's down the road. Could have been a lot worse.
There is the other route of what you could do.
What's up? Hey, by the way, that's unbolted.
That's not bolted, guys.
Yeah, no. By the way, I took the bolts off because I was about to pull it. I just gotta undo that hose.
You could go back to your original plan and put this in old girl. I mean, you could leave the oil cooler on it. You can leave the oil pump on it. Leave everything on it the way it is, and
just order a new one for that one. Drop this in the 06 like I wanted to, but like you said, at that point we're still risking.
It's a risk, but you know.
Trust me, I considered it too, because I considered
at less power, it will live, but it's just, you know, you're obviously on borrowed time. You don't know what it is. And that's what I was telling you. We don't know the extent of the damage unless you pull it apart. Then you run into the risk of pulling it apart. Is it going to be apart forever, you know, and without spending a bunch of money to put it back together? But
because we could risk pulling it apart, and because this is all learning experience. What we're doing is, if we did pull this apart,
a lot of tests, and I've done a lot of tests, and then that's how I get to knowledge of the other blocks that I make for you guys that are not tests. Obviously, this motor, there is some test clearances that were in this motor. This motor worked extremely well, and it's gone way past its limits, and it's done a season of racing already. And here we are into the next season. Obviously, we had a gasket failure on it, which has led us to where we are now. Now, if we wouldn't have had the gasket failure, yes, at that power level and continuing to drive it, obviously we had metal in there. So at some point it would have continued, it would have failed.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And that's kind of inevitable.
We were expecting it though.
And something that gets misinterpreted with these cars, and when you start racing, they're going to fail. That's just, Maintenance covers a couple things. Maintenance covers head gaskets, obviously your basic oil changes, your catch cannon, spark plugs, things like that, but it also is motors. You know, that's the reality of drag racing. And when you get to these type of power levels, that's one thing you have to take into account for. So that's why, you know, you guys see me out here and Travis working on the motor. I want to push him to be able to have the knowledge, and he already has a lot of it, to work on his motor because that's what comes with it.
Yep.
So having that knowledge obviously saves him time and money. And this is something that comes along with having that much power.
And the other bit of knowledge that we might be able to learn with this block is, depending what we decide to do with it, we might see if we caught it early enough.
Right, and we might be able to,
because we might be able to split this and you know, see if we caught a bearing early enough that it didn't mess up the main line, so we could throw a fresh set of bearings in it, check our gaps, right?
Just check the clearances for the motor.
Clearance.
But the thing that we have to take into account for is it's a stage 4 block. It's not pin mains.
Yep.
You know, usually we rate these things for stage 4.
One person knows. One of us knows by experience that 1,000 wheel on one of these blocks will twist the case halves.
Yes. I do know that. It will shift the main line on the block. So each of these mains, we have runners that go through here, and you guys have seen it since I built the motors, but it has runners here for each main. You know, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Well, what happens when you want pin mains, they'll move and they'll shift at that power level. So not only when we pull this thing apart, we're gonna have to check the clearances, but there's gonna be a 9 times out of 10 that is a lot larger than what it was when we put it together, because they shift and move.
Yep.
So that's where that main line comes in. So it could be that it's oblong, it's not round anymore.
Yep.
You know, from beating on it.
Either way,
it's, and that's why we're seeing metal in the oil pan. You know, it's just, is it worth it to take the time for testing of knowledge to see what's going on with that? Yes, but not in every application. You know, at this point, it's just, it needs a new block. That's what it comes down to. But I do think that this thing is in an early enough stage that I don't see tremendous oil or metal in there, but I do see metal in there that would be concerning for this car.
Yeah.
You know, as far as something with less power, you could probably get away with it, flush it out, do a couple oil changes, and who knows? You know, you're on that.
Just keep running thicker oil on it, and
you can run 20-50 in it, and you know, obviously that helps a little bit with the clearances depending on how motors are built, but you're on a 50-50.
Yeah, and you know what we might end up doing is just seeing if it works.
I say throw it in the
and
06.
If we do throw this on the 06, I guess this saves you a little bit of headache with that, to where you don't have to pull that block. Because we're supposed to be getting the block out of his 06.
We're supposed to pull that thing apart, but as time has gone on,
he hasn't decided what he wants to do with it.
I think what's changed from having that, we don't have a racetrack. So for me to build another car, it just doesn't make sense for me, because I only have one car to put on a trailer. So does it make sense for me to build another car when I already have this one here that's not even together, and then to have a race car too to go race? I think it makes more sense to focus on, you know, the business and focus on the race car than it does to build something else and have my focus there.
And your next toy that you're looking at?
Yeah, I've been looking at another toy. But
I won't spoil it.
My main focus over at another toy is that, and I've been telling this to my channel as well, is that we're looking for a shop, and we have a lead on a dyno right now.
Ooh,
so
I didn't even know that.
I've been looking pretty hard for a shop. Unfortunately, I haven't found one that A, fits my budget, B, in the location I need, and C, the size. So those 3 things is what's kind of playing a role in it, but I do have the lead on the dyno to where we can pretty much pull the trigger on it as soon as we find a location. So I'm really trying to shoot for that, and I think that makes a lot more sense than for me to go build another car. So that's one thing that obviously Travis wasn't in the loop on.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that's holding me back on pulling that apart.
Hey guys, I know that this video is going to be a lot of explanation, but it's going to be a lot of knowledge for people. A lot of talking. I know that it's not going to be as much action, not a whole lot of racing or ripping things apart, because I need both hands and I don't have a phone stand for doing this. But there was a comment on your channel that I saw that I wanted to ask about. Was
Q&A time.
Yeah, people were asking what is the status on looking at a shop? Did you end up going out and looking at that property the other day?
So I've done a couple things. I've looked at 3 shops now and a property. So with that being said, the first shop I looked at was 1,500 square feet, which I shared with my channel, and I was questioning about getting it. But the price range was a little bit expensive for the 1,500 square foot, and the commute time was about 45 minutes away one way.
Yeah.
So it was kind of hard to make the decision on that with 1,500 square feet and the price of it, knowing that we were probably going to outgrow it and they wanted a 3-year term. It's kind of hard to commit to 3 years at 1,500 square feet.
Yeah.
When I know that, yes, it's a lot bigger than what I have here, but in 3 years, I foresee us outgrowing 1,500 square feet. So,
I mean, you've pretty much already outgrown 1,500 square feet with what's at your house currently.
we have 10 STI series right now, guys. There's
Yeah.
no problem. So
Yeah, that's seeing the intro to my video is the 3 over there, the truck, these 4, those ones over there.
So the problem, guys, is there's 10 cars here right now, and I have another 5 on the way. So obviously we're at a point where it's hard to stay in the location I'm at, and I understand that my neighbor definitely doesn't like me, even though all it is helping out friends and YouTube. So
It's not a business. This is just helping people out.
I think the part that he fails to see is the personal side of things, and Mr. Bob, our lovely friend over here,
Okay.
has a 9-to-5 job with a consistent paycheck that doesn't have the idea of what inconsistent pay is like, and having to go with the overhead of not only having your house and a wife to take care of, plus you have to take over a shop and have that overhead.
He doesn't know
and
what it's like to run his own business and need to depend on that business flourishing in order to afford his stuff.
Of course, I'd love to have a shop, guys, but at the same point, we have to be, put a lot of thought into it, and I have to make sure that other things are going to align if I do get one. Whereas, let's just throw a number out. Let's say my normal bills a month, $3,000 a month, and then I add another $3,000 with a shop. Now I have to make $6,000 to come to ground zero.
Yep.
Obviously, you have to take that into account. So he just doesn't foresee that, and that's unfortunate. We're out here just trying to make things better and help as many people as we can, and I wish that he would give us a chance, but unfortunately that's not the case, and that's all right, because we're already looking for a shop. I've been looking for a couple months, but I haven't been able to find the right one yet. We were looking at property. That's one thing that got brought up.
Yep.
Have been looking at property to buy property and build our own shop, but property is not cheap either, guys. I mean, we're looking at about $70,000 to $80,000 for a parcel to where it would work and be zoned right and be able to have what we can have. And then also you have to take in addition, there's no power or water ran to those properties, and that takes a lot of money. And
That one with the barn had water and power on it, right?
so we looked at one that was 10 acres. They wanted $239,000 for it,
Which isn't terrible.
but it had power and water ran to it. So that's one that we were looking at. It actually sold, by the way. I found out a day after going to look at that
That's
property.
fast.
So that's one thing you have to fight with.
I talked to Kelsey about that, about using like my VA loan and just doing the property and then all of us just build on it. But, sounds like we got another one showing up.
Series Gay is home.
Ho ho ho!
Oh, it's still running.
The whiff.
Look at that thing. That thing's catching up to your miles.
Hell yeah, it is. All right, y'all. I'm gonna get busy and finish ripping this thing apart. He's got to get back to work because he's got a lot of work to do. I might try and make as much progress as possible. I at least want to get the oil pan on the other one, and then I might dip out because the Gonzaga game is right now, and it's like the championship for March Madness. And yeah, we'll see. It's already after 6, so I've probably missed at least half of it already. So we'll see.
Your bolts that are in your pocket right on that towel.
I mean, I could, but
Clean up.
I also want to,
You're at the point.
yeah, I at least have to get that one on the stand so I can start putting stuff over.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll probably catch a quick video right before I head home, and then that'll probably end this one out. It's already been decently long, but I hope that it's been super informative for you guys. I will catch you later.